The valley was quiet under the twin suns. Crystal-like trees shone softly, their branches bending in the wind. The alien girls often gathered near the stream that ran through the heart of the valley. They played, they laughed, and they sang the songs of their people. Life had always been peaceful here. They had never known war, and they had never met travelers from other worlds. To them, the universe was wide and distant, and their valley was enough. Among the group was Lyra, who loved to climb rocks, and Mina, who was curious about every new flower that bloomed. There was Rena, who had a brave heart but gentle eyes, and Sana, who liked to collect small shining stones. Together they lived in harmony with the land, never expecting anything strange to disturb their lives. But that day, the air changed. The ground shook lightly, as if something heavy had touched down far away. A sound echoed across the valley, not like thunder, not like the wind, but something unfamiliar. The girls paused. They looked toward the forest at the edge of their home. Smoke rose above the trees, and a faint glimmer of metal could be seen. "What is that?" Mina whispered. "Maybe the sky has sent us a gift," Sana said, though her voice carried more wonder than belief. "Or maybe danger," Rena replied, narrowing her eyes. Still, curiosity was stronger than fear. The girls moved carefully, stepping over roots and soft grass, until they reached the edge of the forest. There, hidden between the shadows of tall crystal trunks, they saw it. A broken vessel lay among the trees. It was not like anything they had ever seen. Its surface was dark and burned, its shape sharp and strong. The air smelled of smoke and strange metal. Then they saw movement. A figure climbed out of the wreck. At first, the girls thought it was a machine. The figure was tall and covered in armor that shone dully in the filtered light. Its steps were heavy, its form strange compared to their light bodies. A long object was strapped to its back, and smaller tools hung from its waist. They had never seen such things. They held their breath as the figure looked around. The girls pressed closer to each other. "Is it alive?" Lyra asked softly. "It moves," Mina answered. "Machines do not move on their own, do they?" The figure pulled off part of the covering on its head. The armor opened to reveal a face. The skin was pale compared to theirs, the eyes deep and searching. The mouth moved as it breathed heavily. It was not a creature of metal, but a living being. The girls gasped quietly. The soldier, for that was what he was, leaned against the wreck for a moment. He looked tired and alone. He touched a small device on his arm, but no sound came from it. He tried again, frowning, and then gave up. His eyes swept across the forest, and though he did not yet see the girls, they felt as though he was aware of being watched. Lyra took a step back. "We should go," she whispered. But Mina shook her head. "No. We must know. He is not like us. He is not like anything. What if he needs help?" Rena crossed her arms. "Or what if he brings danger? We cannot risk it." Still, none of them moved away. Something in the soldier's stance drew them in. He did not act like a beast searching for prey. He acted like someone lost, someone searching for something he could not find. His movements were careful, not wild. His eyes held a quiet strength. Finally, the soldier noticed them. His gaze shifted to the shadows where the girls stood. He did not raise his weapon. Instead, he slowly lifted one hand and opened it, showing his palm. The girls froze. "He sees us," Sana whispered. "Do not run," Mina said quickly. "If he wished to harm us, he would have already done so. The soldier stepped forward, but carefully, not rushing. Then he did something unexpected. He touched his helmet again, and with a small click, it came loose. He lifted it fully away and placed it under his arm. His face was clear now. His expression was weary but calm. He tried to smile, though it was faint. The girls looked at one another. This was the first time they had ever seen a human face. His features were sharp, yet there was softness in his eyes. He was different, yet not frightening. Mina, always the bravest when it came to curiosity, took a single step forward. She raised her own hand, copying his gesture. The soldier's faint smile grew stronger. He lowered his hand, then tapped his chest. He spoke a word, though they could not understand it. Aaron, he said. The sound was strange to them, but they understood the meaning. It was his name. The girls whispered it among themselves, trying to repeat it. Aaron, Lyra said, testing the sound. The soldier nodded, pointing to himself once more. Aaron. Sana's eyes brightened. He wants us to know him. Rena still looked cautious, but her expression softened. If he wished to trick us, why give his name? The forest seemed quieter now, as if listening to this first exchange. The smoke from the wreck drifted higher, but none of the girls cared about that anymore. They were staring at the stranger who had fallen from the sky. For as long as they could remember, their people told stories of stars and distant worlds. Some said other beings lived out there, but no one had ever come to their valley. Now, before their very eyes, stood proof. Not a story, not a dream, but a real living visitor. The alien girls did not know what this human soldier's arrival would mean for their world. They did not know if he came with peace or with hidden shadows. All they knew was that everything had changed the moment they saw his face. And so, the first meeting between the alien girls and the human soldier began with a simple act: a shared look, a raised hand, and a name carried across the space between them. The valley air carried a quiet tension as the alien girls stood facing the human soldier. His name, Aaron, still echoed in their minds. The sound was foreign, yet they held onto it, whispering it softly as if repeating the word would make it less strange. Aaron did not move quickly. He kept his hands open, showing he carried no threat. The long object on his back remained untouched. His eyes, though sharp, were calm, and the small smile he gave was one of peace. The girls sensed that he wanted them to trust him. Mina, the most curious among them, dared to step closer. She looked back at her friends, her dark eyes asking for courage. Lyra nodded weakly, while Sana held tightly to the stones in her hand, ready to drop them if danger came. Rena, always the cautious one, did not stop Mina but followed behind at a small distance. The grass was soft under Mina's feet as she approached. Aaron lowered himself slightly, bending his tall frame to appear smaller. The girls noticed this. He was not trying to frighten them. He was trying to meet them on equal ground. Mina lifted her hand again, pointing to herself. Mina, she said clearly. Aaron tilted his head, then repeated it carefully. Me, N.A. Her lips curved into a smile. He had understood. She pointed to Lyra, who hesitated but gave her name softly. Lyra. Aaron repeated. Lee, R.A. One by one, the girls shared their names. Sana. Rena. The human repeated each with effort. His voice was heavy compared to theirs, yet he spoke with care. With every name, the wall of silence between them grew smaller. When he tried Rena, his voice stumbled slightly, and he laughed quietly at his own mistake. The sound was gentle, and the girls found themselves laughing too. It was the first time they shared something together, not as strangers, but as beings learning to understand one another. The girls noticed his clothing now that they were closer. His armor was scratched and burned, the surface dull from smoke. On his arm was a broken device with lights that no longer glowed. His boots pressed deep into the grass, showing his weight. On his chest was a small symbol, one they could not read. Everything about him spoke of a long journey and a great struggle. Aaron looked tired. His shoulders sagged as if he carried more than just the weight of his armor. His lips moved again, words in his strange tongue spilling out. Though the girls did not understand, his tone was clear. He was trying to tell them something important. Rena frowned, then pointed toward the wreck in the forest. "That is where you came from, yes?" she asked, though knowing he could not understand her. Still, Aaron followed her hand and nodded. His eyes grew distant for a moment as he looked back at the broken vessel. He placed his helmet down on the grass, then pressed his palm to his chest. His voice dropped softly. "Home," he said, though it was not a word the girls knew. They felt the meaning in his eyes. He had lost something. He was far from where he belonged. Sana, moved by a sense of kindness, reached into her pouch and pulled out one of the shining stones she had collected. It glimmered faintly under the light of the twin suns. She held it out with trembling hands. Aaron looked at her, then slowly accepted the stone. He held it with care, as if it were the most precious gift he had ever been given. He nodded once, his lips shaping the sound thank, though the girls did not know the word. They felt its warmth all the same. After this, Aaron made a gesture of drinking. He touched his lips, then spread his hand outward. The girls understood at once. He was thirsty. Mina pointed toward the stream. She waved for him to follow. They walked together, slowly, the girls leading and the soldier behind. Every step felt heavy with wonder. Never had their valley known such a moment, when two worlds touched. Birds scattered above the trees as if sensing the shift in destiny. At the stream, the water ran clear and cool. Aaron knelt, removing one of his gloves. His hand looked strange to them, rough, scarred, with strong lines unlike their smoother skin. He touched the water, then drank deeply, sighing in relief. The girls watched him closely, fascinated by his every action. Lyra whispered to Mina, "He is like us, yet not like us." Mina nodded. "He is strong, but also gentle. I can see it in his eyes." Rena remained alert, scanning the trees as though danger might follow this visitor. But even she could not deny that something about Aaron felt different. He was not a wild beast or a careless wanderer. He was someone with purpose, though lost in a land not his own. When he finished drinking, Aaron sat by the stream. He picked up a stick and began to draw in the dirt. The girls gathered around curiously. He drew a round shape, then another, then lines between them. They realized he was trying to show them something. Mina pointed at the sky, then back to the drawing. "Stars," she guessed. Aaron smiled and nodded. His eyes lit with energy. He drew again, this time a shape of his vessel, then a large circle he tapped firmly. He pointed at the circle, then pressed his hand to his chest. "Home," he said again. The girls looked at one another. They understood a little more now. He came from one of those far stars. His vessel had carried him across the dark space, and now he was stranded here. Sana asked quietly, Will he stay? No one had an answer. The suns dipped lower in the sky, painting the valley in gold. The girls knew they should return to their village, yet none wanted to leave. They felt that this meeting was too important to end so soon. Still, night in the valley was not always safe. Mina stood and motioned for Aaron to follow again. She touched her chest, then pointed toward the distant hills where their village lights glimmered faintly. She hoped he would understand that they wished to bring him to safety. Aaron hesitated, looking back once more at his broken vessel. Then he lifted the stone Sana had given him, holding it close as if to remind himself that trust was possible. Finally, he stood and nodded. The alien girls led the way, and the human soldier walked behind them, his shadow long in the evening light. The first steps of trust had been taken, and though none of them knew where this path would lead, they felt in their hearts that the valley would never be the same again. The path from the forest to the village stretched across wide fields of tall grass. As the twin suns lowered in the sky, the light turned soft and orange. Shadows stretched long, and the cool air carried the scent of crystal flowers that bloomed only in the evening. Aaron followed the alien girls closely. His heavy boots pressed into the soft ground, leaving deep marks. The girls moved lightly, their steps barely touching the grass. They often glanced back at him, still amazed by the way his armor shone in the fading light and by the serious look in his eyes. Though they had shared names, they still could not speak each other's language. Yet there was no silence between them. Their gestures, their glances, and the simple rhythm of their steps together carried meaning. It was enough for now. The village appeared ahead, hidden in the curves of the valley. The houses were built from smooth stone and glowing crystal, shaped like shells rising from the earth. Light spilled softly from their windows, welcoming and warm. Smoke from cooking fires rose into the sky, and the faint sound of music drifted across the fields. When they entered the village, the other villagers rushed out. Men, women, and children gathered quickly, their voices rising in surprise. Never before had they seen someone so different, someone who carried strange armor and walked with such heavy steps. The alien girls stood protectively near Aaron, holding their hands out to calm the crowd. Mina stepped forward and called out, explaining as best she could. She spoke of the crash in the forest, of the smoke, of the stranger who gave his name and showed no harm. Her voice carried honesty, and slowly the crowd's fear softened into wonder. Aaron lowered his head politely. He placed his hand on his chest and spoke his name again. Aaron. The sound carried across the gathering. The villagers repeated it among themselves, the word strange yet memorable. One of the elders stepped forward. She was tall and graceful, her hair white like snow. She studied Aaron carefully, her eyes sharp but not unkind. She raised a hand and touched the stone Sana had given him, still clutched tightly in his fingers. A small smile touched her lips. She turned to the villagers and spoke with calm authority. They listened, nodding slowly. The elder then motioned for Aaron to follow. She led him toward one of the larger houses built near the heart of the village. Inside, the air was warm. The walls glowed faintly with crystal veins, and the floor was smooth stone. A fire burned in a central pit, casting gentle light across the room. The girls followed Aaron inside, not wishing to leave him alone. The elder offered him food: round fruits with bright skins, bread made from soft grains, and a drink that shimmered like water but carried a sweet taste. Aaron hesitated at first, then nodded in thanks. He tasted carefully. Relief showed on his face when the food did not harm him. Hunger gave way, and he ate slowly, his strength returning. The girls sat close, watching him. Lyra whispered to Mina, "He eats like us." Mina smiled. "Because he is like us, even if he comes from the stars." Aaron finished, then sat back. He pulled a small object from his belt, a simple metal tool. He tapped it lightly, then showed it to the girls. He drew a quick line in the dirt floor, showing how the tool cut easily. Then he handed it to Rena. She tested it with wide eyes, amazed by its sharpness and strength. She passed it back with care, understanding that such objects were valuable. The elder asked him questions in her own tongue, though she knew he could not understand. Still, her voice was kind, her tone curious. Aaron answered with gestures, pointing toward the sky, then back to the drawing he had made earlier near the stream. His hands moved with meaning, showing distance, loss, and the long journey he had taken. The elder nodded slowly, as if she could sense the truth even without words. As night fell, the villagers lit lanterns of glowing crystal. Music filled the air, gentle and calm. Children peeked through the doors to catch glimpses of Aaron, their eyes wide with wonder. Some laughed and whispered, pointing at his armor. Others hid shyly behind their parents. Aaron sat quietly, his gaze fixed on the sky outside. Stars filled the heavens, brighter here than he had ever seen on earth. He knew none of them by name, yet he searched for the familiar shapes of his home. None appeared. He lowered his head, his heart heavy with distance. The alien girls noticed. Sana touched his arm softly, offering another small stone from her pouch. Mina leaned forward and smiled, speaking words he could not understand but filled with comfort. Lyra began to hum a simple tune, one of the songs of their people. Slowly, the sorrow in his eyes eased. Though far from his home, he was not entirely alone. The next morning, Aaron rose early. He stepped outside the elder's house and looked across the valley. The villagers were beginning their daily work tending fields, weaving cloth, gathering food. Aaron studied the land carefully. The air was thicker here, heavier to breathe. The plants were strange, with colors his eyes had never seen on earth. Some of the animals that moved near the fields were small and harmless, but others carried sharp tusks and glowing eyes. Aaron's training as a soldier made him alert. He noticed how the village walls were low, built more for beauty than for defense. He saw how the villagers carried no weapons, only tools. They lived gently, without fear of war. But he also saw signs of danger: the claw marks on some trees near the fields, the broken fences where animals had entered. When the girls joined him, he pointed at the marks. He tapped his chest, then pointed at them, then made a sweeping motion across the valley. His meaning was clear. He was telling them that he wished to help. Rena raised her brow. "He sees danger where we see only land." Mina nodded. "Because he has lived with danger before." The girls began to lead Aaron across the valley, showing him more of their world. They pointed out plants that could be eaten, fruits that glowed at night, and flowers that healed cuts when crushed. Aaron listened carefully, memorizing every detail. In return, he showed them how to tie strong knots with rope, how to sharpen wood into spears, and how to spot signs of approaching animals. The exchange was slow but powerful. Each step brought them closer, each gesture carried meaning. The human soldier was learning their world, and they were learning his ways. By evening, the alien girls realized something important. Aaron was not just a visitor. He was becoming part of their valley, even as he searched for a way back to his home. And though none of them spoke the words aloud, they all felt the same truth. The world had changed forever since the moment the alien girls first saw the human soldier. Morning light spread across the valley as Aaron woke from his rest inside the elder's house. The soft glow of crystal walls surrounded him, and the faint sound of the village already at work drifted through the air. He sat up slowly, his armor heavy on his shoulders, and rubbed his tired eyes. For a moment, he thought of Earth, the blue skies, the wide oceans, and the mountains of his home. A deep ache filled his chest, but when he stepped outside and saw the alien girls waiting for him, the weight of his loneliness eased just a little. Mina waved to him with her usual bright smile. Lyra carried a basket of fruits, Sana held a pouch of stones, and Rena stood with her arms folded, her cautious eyes never leaving him. They were different in spirit, yet together they balanced each other. Aaron realized that these four had become his guides, his bridge to this strange new world. The day began with the girls showing him more of their ways. They led him to the wide fields where their people grew tall plants with silver leaves. The villagers harvested the leaves carefully, weaving them into cloth that shone faintly under the sun. Aaron knelt, touching the fibers, impressed by their strength. He held up his sleeve of worn fabric to compare, and the girls laughed softly. Mina placed one of the woven strands in his hand, and he nodded in respect, understanding the skill it required. Later, they took him to the river that curved around the valley. Here the villagers fished using nets made of crystal thread. The water shimmered with strange creatures, their scales glowing like lanterns. Aaron watched with fascination as the villagers pulled the nets with calm skill. He pointed at the glowing fish and raised his brows in surprise. The girls laughed again, enjoying his wonder. But Aaron was not only here to watch. He began to share his own lessons. He found a fallen branch and carved it into a spear with his sharp tool. He showed the girls how to hold it, how to balance their weight, and how to throw with strength. The first tries were clumsy. Sana dropped the spear in the grass, while Mina threw it only a short distance. Rena, determined, clenched her jaw and managed to land it closer to the target Aaron had drawn on a tree. The girls laughed at their mistakes, but Aaron remained patient. He corrected their stances with simple gestures, lowering their arms, adjusting their feet. When Mina finally sent the spear flying straight into the mark, she cheered loudly, and the others clapped. Aaron allowed himself a small smile, proud of their progress. In return, the girls shared their songs. That evening, as the village gathered, they sat near the fire with Aaron beside them. Lyra began to hum first, her voice soft and steady. Mina joined with higher tones, while Sana added a gentle rhythm by tapping stones together. Rena, though shy at first, added her voice last, low and strong. The harmony rose into the night, carrying across the valley. Aaron listened with closed eyes. Though he did not understand the words, he felt the meaning. The song spoke of peace, of seasons, of the endless cycle of stars. For the first time since his crash, he felt calm. When the song ended, he placed a hand on his chest and bowed his head in gratitude. The villagers smiled, and the girls beamed with pride. The days that followed became a pattern of exchange. Aaron taught them simple survival tricks from his soldier training. He showed how to set traps with rope and branches, how to build small walls of stone that could block strong winds, and how to use fire to keep dangerous animals away at night. The girls were eager students, though each learned differently. Mina picked up his lessons quickly, her mind sharp and curious. Lyra liked to test everything with her own hands, sometimes making mistakes but laughing at them without shame. Sana was careful and thoughtful, always asking silent questions with her eyes before trying. Rena, though doubtful at first, worked the hardest and grew the most skilled, her strength and determination shining through. In return, they taught Aaron the secrets of their valley. They showed him which fruits healed hunger and which carried sickness. They taught him how to use the glowing flowers as lanterns in the dark, and how to listen to the call of distant birds that warned of storms. They even showed him how to drink from the tall crystal plants that stored water inside their trunks. Aaron learned quickly. Though the air was heavy and the land strange, he adapted. His body grew stronger, his mind sharper. He realized that survival here was possible, not only because of his training but because of the knowledge these alien girls shared with him. One evening, as the suns lowered, Aaron sat with the girls near the edge of the valley. He used a stick to draw once again in the dirt. This time, he drew a simple figure of a human, then another of an alien with long hair like theirs. Between them he drew a line, then placed a circle in the middle. He pointed at himself, then at them, then tapped the circle. The girls leaned closer, their eyes thoughtful. Mina whispered, "He is saying we meet in the middle." Rena nodded slowly. "We are different, yet we share this land." Aaron looked up, meeting their eyes, and gave a firm nod. They understood. This was not just survival. This was a bond forming between two worlds. But not all lessons were simple. One night, as they sat by the fire, distant howls echoed from the forest. The villagers fell silent. The elder's face grew tense. The girls glanced at Aaron, fear in their eyes. Aaron's expression hardened. He knew the sound well, even if he did not know the creature. It was the voice of a hunter. He reached for his weapon, tightening the strap across his chest. The girls realized then what it meant to live as a soldier. He was always ready for danger, always prepared to protect. Though no creature came that night, the warning was clear. The valley, for all its beauty, was not free of threat. And so the lessons continued. Each day, Aaron shared his strength, and the girls shared their wisdom. Together they grew closer, their trust deepening. The human soldier was no longer just a stranger who had fallen from the sky. He was a part of their world now. Yet as the stars filled the night sky, Aaron often looked upward with longing. He still dreamed of his home, of the place far beyond their reach. The girls noticed his quiet sorrow, and though they could not bring him back to his world, they gave him something else: companionship, understanding, and the comfort of knowing he was not alone. In those moments, the valley seemed less strange, and the distance between their worlds grew smaller. The valley seemed peaceful in the days that followed, but Aaron felt a weight pressing on him. He had been a soldier too long to mistake silence for safety. Every sound, every broken branch, every shadow at the edge of the forest filled him with unease. He had seen marks on the trees, claw-shaped and deep. He had heard distant cries at night, cries that did not belong to harmless animals. The alien girls trusted their valley. They had grown up here, believing its beauty protected them. But Aaron knew better. A soldier learned that danger often came when least expected. One morning, Aaron walked with Rena near the fields. She carried a basket of silver leaves, while he scanned the edges of the forest. Suddenly, he stopped. He knelt and brushed the ground with his hand. The soil was disturbed, the prints wide and heavy. He traced the shape with his fingers, frowning. Rena looked over his shoulder. "What is it?" she asked softly, though she knew he would not understand her words. Aaron pointed at the mark, then spread his fingers wide to show claws. He pressed his hand low to the ground and growled quietly, mimicking the sound of a beast. Rena's eyes widened. She understood enough. Something dangerous had passed through the valley in the night. When they returned to the village, Aaron tried to warn the others. He drew the claw marks in the dirt, larger and sharper than any they had seen. He placed small stones to show the village, then dragged lines through them, as if something had attacked. His face was serious, his eyes sharp with warning. The villagers murmured in unease. They had always hidden from danger, closing their doors until the beasts left. But Aaron shook his head firmly. He mimed the act of standing with a weapon, of fighting back. His gestures were strong and clear. He would not allow them to run from this threat. The elder watched quietly, her wise eyes seeing the truth in his warning. She nodded slowly, giving her silent approval. The girls felt their hearts tighten. They had trusted the valley for so long, but now they trusted Aaron's instincts. That evening, Aaron prepared. He gathered wood and sharpened spears. He used stones to build small barriers around the village. The girls helped him, their hands quick and eager. Mina carried rope, Lyra fetched water, Sana gathered stones, and Rena worked beside Aaron, her strength steady. The villagers watched in surprise. They had never seen such preparation. Some whispered in doubt. Others felt hope for the first time. Aaron moved with certainty, every action born from years of training. He showed them how to place the barriers, how to light fires in a circle, how to use sound to scare off beasts. Night came quickly. The twin suns sank, leaving the valley in silver light under the moons. The villagers gathered inside their homes, but the girls stayed near Aaron. They refused to leave him to face the night alone. The forest grew restless. Branches cracked, leaves rustled, and low growls echoed through the darkness. The girls huddled close, their eyes wide. Aaron stood tall, spear in hand, his armor glinting faintly. He signaled for silence, his finger pressed to his lips. Then they saw it. A shape moved between the trees, large and shadowed. Its eyes glowed red in the dark, and its claws scraped against the earth. Another followed, then another. The beasts were bigger than the girls had imagined, their bodies thick with muscle, their teeth long and sharp. They moved with hungry intent, their growls shaking the ground. The villagers cried out in fear from inside their homes. But Aaron did not flinch. He raised his spear high and let out a shout, strong and fierce. The sound carried across the valley, a voice of defiance. The beasts stopped, startled by the noise. The girls held their breath as Aaron stepped forward. He slammed the butt of his spear against the ground, the sound echoing like thunder. The firelight flickered across his face, showing determination as solid as stone. The first beast lunged. Aaron met it with his spear, driving the sharp point into its shoulder. The creature roared and pulled back, its blood staining the grass. The other beasts growled louder, circling closer. The girls realized the danger was too great. They could not only watch. Mina grabbed a torch from the fire and waved it, the flames sending sparks into the night. Lyra threw stones with sharp aim, striking the beast's sides. Sana banged two stones together, creating a loud clattering sound that startled the creatures. Even Rena, fearless, took a spear Aaron had sharpened and stood beside him, ready to defend. Together, their courage grew. Aaron glanced at them, his eyes showing pride. He had taught them to stand, and now they stood without fear. The battle lasted long into the night. The beasts lunged and snapped, but the traps Aaron had set slowed them. Sharp branches cut their legs, fire kept them at bay, and the villagers, inspired by the girls, began to join. They threw stones, banged pots, and shouted loudly, driving the creatures back. At last, the beasts retreated into the forest, their growls fading into the distance. Silence fell, broken only by the crackle of fire and the heavy breaths of the defenders. The villagers emerged slowly, their eyes wide with amazement. Never before had they faced danger like this. Never before had they fought as one. They looked at Aaron with respect, their fear replaced with admiration. The elder stepped forward, her voice strong. She spoke words of thanks, though Aaron could not understand. Still, the tone was clear. He had given them courage. He had shown them a new path. The girls surrounded him, their faces glowing with pride. Mina laughed with relief, Lyra clapped her hands, Sana placed a shining stone in his palm, and Rena looked at him with steady eyes, nodding once in respect. Aaron lowered his spear and took a long breath. He knew this was only the beginning. The valley was not as safe as the villagers believed. More dangers would come. But now they were ready. The human soldier had not only defended them. He had awakened something stronger within them, the will to fight, the will to survive, the will to protect their home. And as the firelight burned through the night, the alien girls realized that they were no longer only witnesses to a stranger's strength. They were part of it. Together, they had faced the rising danger, and together they would face whatever came next. The sun had not yet risen when the first sounds of movement stirred in the forest. The valley was still shrouded in a gentle mist, making the trees look taller and darker than usual. Aaron stood at the edge of the village, spear in hand, his eyes scanning the shadows. The girls were beside him, tense but ready. Mina carried a small bundle of stones to throw, Lyra gripped a sharpened branch, Sana held a torch, and Rena adjusted her spear. The elder had stayed inside, her face calm but watchful. She trusted Aaron and the girls to handle what was coming. Then the creatures appeared. This time, they were not alone. Dozens moved through the mist, their red eyes glowing, their claws scraping the earth. Their growls echoed across the valley, a sound that sent shivers through even the bravest villagers who had hidden in their homes. Aaron raised his hand, signaling the girls to stay behind the first line of defense. He planted his spear in the ground and shouted a strong command, his voice carrying authority. The creatures hesitated, unsure, but the mist hid their numbers. Aaron could feel the tension in the valley as every being waited for the first move. The creatures lunged suddenly. Aaron met the lead one with a spear strike. The point sank deep, and the creature roared, stumbling back. The girls followed his lead. Mina threw stones at the attackers' heads, startling them. Lyra swung her sharpened branch with strength, striking one of the creatures on the side. Sana waved her torch, the flames catching the light and dazzling a few of the beasts. Even Rena charged forward, her spear aimed with precision at a large creature that had cornered one of the younger villagers. Aaron moved between them with skill, blocking, striking, and guiding. He called out gestures, signaling the girls where to act, where to push, and where to stay safe. They responded instantly, their trust in him complete. The battle raged across the open fields. Creatures lunged from the shadows of the tall crystal trees, claws flashing. Aaron met them with calm strength. Each move he made was careful and deliberate. He avoided unnecessary strikes, aiming to protect the girls and the villagers rather than harm the creatures more than needed. Mina rolled to the side as a creature snapped at her. She struck back with a heavy stone, hitting it squarely. It stumbled, giving her time to rise. Lyra fought beside her, her branch swinging like a blade, while Sana kept the flames moving, creating light and heat that forced the creatures to hesitate. Rena, fearless, stood directly behind Aaron, covering his back. The villagers, inspired by the display, began to join. They grabbed sticks, stones, and small tools. With the girls leading, they formed lines and pushed the creatures back. Aaron guided them with gestures, showing them where to block, where to attack, and when to retreat. The sun began to rise, spilling golden light across the valley. The creatures hissed, their red eyes glaring against the morning brightness. The mist lifted, revealing their shapes more clearly. Aaron pointed toward the larger ones, then tapped his chest and gestured with his hands in a sweeping motion. He was showing the girls how to combine their efforts, to strike together rather than alone. The girls nodded, understanding perfectly. Mina and Lyra coordinated their throws and swings. Sana and Rina created distractions and blocked paths. Aaron moved quickly between them, striking the creatures that tried to break through their defenses. One massive beast charged directly at Aaron. Its teeth bared, it moved faster than expected. Aaron planted his feet firmly, bracing his spear. With careful aim, he drove it into the creature's side. It roared in pain and stumbled, but it was not down yet. Aaron pulled the spear free and quickly moved to defend another girl as a second creature lunged from behind. The girls watched in awe. They had never seen strength like this. Aaron did not panic, even under pressure. Every action was precise, controlled, and purposeful. Slowly, they began to see what made humans capable in the face of danger. Not just their tools or weapons, but their courage, determination, and quick thinking. Mina struck the creature that tried to sneak past Aaron, her stone hitting true. Lyra jabbed with her branch, Sana waved the torch, and Rina thrust her spear, forcing it back. Together, they made the creature retreat. The rest of the attackers, seeing their companions falter, hesitated. This gave Aaron the chance to take control of the battle. He shouted once, a loud, commanding sound that carried across the field. The girls echoed his determination with strong gestures, and together, they pushed the remaining creatures toward the forest edge. Finally, one by one, the creatures retreated into the shadows. The valley fell silent again, the only sound the heavy breathing of those who had fought. The girls looked around, their faces glowing with relief and pride. They had faced fear, and they had survived. Aaron knelt in the grass, exhausted but uninjured. He looked at the girls and nodded, acknowledging their courage. Each of them stepped forward, and he gestured toward them with approval. They had not only learned to defend themselves but had done so with bravery beyond what he had expected. The villagers emerged slowly, stepping over broken branches and flattened grass. They looked at Aaron and the girls with admiration. No longer were they simply witnesses to the valley's beauty. They had seen strength, teamwork, and courage. They had seen how humans and aliens could stand together and protect one another. The elder came forward, her eyes bright. She placed a hand on Aaron's shoulder, her silent gesture full of respect. Then she turned to the girls, speaking words of pride and gratitude. Though Aaron could not understand every word, the tone and gestures made it clear. They had done well. The girls smiled, their hearts racing from the excitement and fear of the battle. Mina laughed softly, Lyra clapped her hands, Sana placed a shining stone in Aaron's palm, and Rina nodded once firmly. They were proud, not only of their actions but of what they had learned from the human soldier. Aaron stood, brushing dirt from his armor. Though his body was tired, his spirit was steady. He had shown them that courage was more than weapons. It was the will to act, to protect, and to stand together even when the odds were heavy. As the suns rose higher, casting light over the valley, the alien girls realized something important. They had not only survived the attack. They had grown stronger, braver, and wiser. They had seen what humans were capable of. And they knew that Aaron was more than a visitor, he was a teacher, a guide, and a friend who had changed their world forever. The valley, once quiet and safe, had become a place of courage, unity, and hope. And as Aaron and the girls walked back toward the village together, they knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. The morning after the battle was quiet. The valley was calm, with sunlight spilling over the crystal trees and the fields of silver leaf plants. Birds chirped softly, and the air carried the fresh scent of dew. The alien girls moved carefully among the village homes, checking the fields and the edges of the forest. There was no sign of the creatures that had attacked the night before. The valley had survived, and the villagers were alive, safe because of the courage of the human soldier and the bravery of the girls. Aaron stood at the edge of the village, watching the sun rise. His armor was scratched, and dirt covered his boots, but he felt a sense of satisfaction. The creatures were gone, and the valley was safe once more. Still, his thoughts wandered far beyond the mountains and fields. He thought of home, of Earth, and the people who must be waiting for him. But for now, he was here, and the valley needed him. The alien girls approached quietly. Mina carried a small bundle of fruit. Lyra held fresh water in a crystal cup. Sana had polished a small stone to give to Aaron as a token, and Rena walked with her spear resting against her shoulder. Their faces were bright, showing pride and relief. Mina stepped forward first. She held out the fruit and smiled. Aaron knelt, accepting the gift carefully. He gestured his thanks, pointing to his chest and then to her, showing that he understood the meaning of sharing and trust. Lyra offered the water next, and he drank slowly, savoring the cool taste. Sana placed the stone in his hand. It was small but heavy with meaning, a symbol of their courage and friendship. Rena simply nodded, her eyes steady, a quiet respect passing between them. The elder came forward as well, her presence calm and strong. She spoke in her language, pointing to the girls, then to Aaron, and finally toward the valley. Though Aaron could not understand every word, he sensed the meaning. She was giving thanks, honoring the bravery that had saved their home, and acknowledging the bond now formed between humans and her people. For the first time, Aaron felt the true weight of what had happened. He had not come to this valley to teach or to fight. He had come because he was lost, stranded far from home. Yet in the process, he had helped these people survive. He had shown them courage, strategy, and the human spirit. And in return, they had shown him trust, patience, and the wisdom of their world. The day passed with quiet work. The villagers repaired broken fences and homes. The girls taught Aaron how to gather edible plants safely and how to use the light from the glowing flowers to guide him at night. Aaron showed them how to reinforce walls and build simple traps to protect the village from future danger. Each lesson was exchanged carefully, respectfully, and with growing admiration on both sides. As evening approached, the girls led Aaron to a high hill overlooking the valley. From here, the village stretched like a tapestry of stone and crystal. The twin suns cast long golden beams across the fields, and the mountains in the distance glowed softly in the last light of day. Aaron sat down, exhausted but content. The girls gathered around him, sitting on the soft grass. They pointed to the horizon, the streams, the trees, and the distant forests. Through gestures, they told him stories of their world, of the seasons, and of the traditions of their people. Aaron listened carefully. He drew small shapes in the dirt, telling them about Earth, the oceans, the forests, the mountains, and the sky. Though they had never seen his world, they understood his stories through the care and energy in his hands. Night came, and the stars filled the sky. Aaron stared upward, remembering home. The alien girls sat close, their hands resting on the grass. Lyra pointed to a bright star, and Aaron nodded. He gestured toward the stars they could not name, showing that he recognized distant worlds. Mina laughed softly, her eyes wide, and Sana placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. Rena's eyes were calm and steady, her presence strong. The elder appeared silently beside them, holding a small lantern of crystal light. She placed it on the ground, and its glow spread across the group. She gestured toward Aaron and the girls, showing that they had become a family in spirit. Though from different worlds, they were united now by courage, trust, and shared experience. Aaron realized then that he was not alone. Though far from Earth, he had found a home here, not in the land, not in the buildings, but in the hearts of these beings who had accepted him, who had learned from him, and who had fought beside him. The lessons shared, the dangers faced, and the bonds formed had changed them all forever. The following days were calm. The girls returned to their daily routines, but Aaron was always nearby, helping and learning. The villagers began to adopt some of his methods for protection and survival, combining them with the wisdom of their own traditions. The valley became stronger, not just in safety, but in spirit. The people knew they could face danger together, guided by courage, knowledge, and unity. One evening, as the twin suns set, Aaron stood with the girls at the edge of the forest. The wreck of his vessel was still there, quiet and broken. He touched it lightly, remembering the journey that had brought him here. He did not know if he would ever return to Earth, but he understood something important now. Home was not only a place. Home could be where trust, friendship, and courage lived. Mina stepped forward, smiling. Lyra, Sana, and Rena joined her. Together they held out their hands, offering him a gift of belonging. Aaron looked at their faces, each full of pride, bravery, and kindness. He nodded, placing his hand in theirs. The gesture was simple, but it carried a promise: together, they would protect the valley, no matter what came next. The elder approached, bowing her head slightly. Aaron bowed in return, a gesture of respect and gratitude. The girls laughed softly, the sound light and full of joy. For the first time in a long while, the valley felt completely safe, not because there was no danger, but because its people had courage. Night fell fully, and the stars twinkled above. Aaron, the human soldier, and the alien girls sat together, looking at the sky. The wind carried the faint song of the village in the distance, a melody of life, survival, and hope. They had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty. And now, they shared a bond that could not be broken. The valley was no longer just a quiet home. It was a symbol of courage and unity. The alien girls understood the spirit of humans through Aaron, and Aaron had learned the beauty and wisdom of their world. Together, they had grown stronger, braver, and wiser. And as the moons rose, casting soft silver light over the valley, Aaron smiled, feeling for the first time that he belonged. The alien girls smiled with him, knowing that their world had changed forever because of courage, trust, and the meeting of two very different beings who became friends. The valley was alive with hope, and a new beginning had begun.